Two, one. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to USC Trojan on Fan Nation Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Hare, joined by my co-host, Jacob Erlbaum, and today we're lucky to be joined by redshirt sophomore running back Matt Colombo. Matt, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I'm excited to be here.
So, Matt, big win against Cal. How are you feeling after that win?
Yeah, we got to play a little better at the end, but I think our offense played fantastic, and it's really fun. At this point in the season, we're starting to get into championship November, and that's kind of where a lot of the fun stuff happens. So, just got to keep getting better, keep progressing, and I think we'll do all right.
How important was it for you guys to get 2 wins after losing to Utah a couple weeks ago to get back in the win column, just for the team as a whole, for everyone's mindset?
Yeah, we take it week by week. So we're really not focusing on the wins. We're just trying to get better and play each week as best we can. I think we're getting some momentum now, really ending the season strong is kind of a big thing. So really just trying to keep it rolling and try to lead into like playoffs and bowl games and stuff like that.
Well, you just dropped the word momentum, and we were talking before I started recording. You and your teammate, quarterback Mo Hassan, have a podcast called the Momentum Podcast. You guys actually film in a truck or a van every week?
Yeah.
So, 5 years ago, athletes weren't really doing podcasts, but we see nowadays, like Draymond Green of the Warriors says, it's a new media. So what made you and Mo want to get into the podcasting world, and how did this idea form?
Yeah. So originally it was Mo's idea. So he did it. He's a grad transfer from Vanderbilt. And he started and he's kind of saw that there wasn't really a podcast in college sports that really did it. And so he saw something similar to like Bussin' with the Boys. They have like kind of a truck and they do kind of like their little kind of podcast types thing. So he figured there'd be perfect opportunity to do it for college. When he came here, he was doing it for a little bit, and then he asked me to be the co-host, and so we've been just running with it ever since. But it's been a blast. Got to get some great athletes on, a lot of USC alumni too. So it's been really fun.
So switching back to football, thanks for talking about your podcast for a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to flip back to last year. You're a part of a USC team that won just 4 games. And then you come into this year, new coach, USC, winning 4 games is not up to USC football standards. What has the change been like this season, and how have you seen the program turn around so quickly?
Yeah, last season was definitely an interesting year. I think with the coaching change early on, that kind of set us up for kind of a rough patch, especially during the season. I think the biggest change has just kind of been really focusing on the details. I think one thing that Coach Lincoln takes great pride in is accountability. And that's everybody doing their 111th. And it's in every aspect of your life. I think it's working, going to workouts on time, being early, going to class every single day, not skipping, eating. Doing everything. And I think it's a culmination of a lot of little things. I don't think there's one thing you could really attack that would be one thing that really changed. I think it's just a big culture shock for sure.
What made you and your teammates buy into Coach Riley and his coaching staff's message?
Yeah, from the day one, his biggest thing has been trust. They're going to try to put in as much effort as they can from the coaching side, and give us the best opportunity to play well. So I think just having trust in them, that they've been there, they've been to the top, they've done really like a lot of great things, and we have the talent. We just need to be able to execute. So kind of buying in on their side, believe in them and trust in them, and then the same thing on them, believing in us and trusting us as a team that we can go and execute at a high level.
For all SC fans across the country and across the world, when they saw the Lincoln Riley news, their eyes popped out of their face. For you as a player, I'm sure you had no idea that it was coming. What was it like? What was your reaction when you saw that SC hired Lincoln?
Yeah, definitely wild. I didn't know. I wasn't expecting anything like that. It's really exciting as a player, I think. Having a coach like Lincoln, he sets you up to succeed. He puts you in positions where you can show off your talent, and you'll get those opportunities at a high stage and a high level where you can show who you are, and it'll really give you a good opportunity. So seeing it from a player is awesome. It's like now you can combine what you have and your skills with the best in the business. So it's been awesome.
So I want to turn the attention back over to this season. You guys, obviously, you mentioned how you guys go week by week. You're not really worried about wins. You're not getting better every day. So now you have Colorado this week. How do you keep your focus on a game like Colorado when you have 2 big games at the end of the year with UCLA and Notre Dame coming up? How as a team does Coach Riley and the rest of the coaching staff keep you guys focused on the game ahead and not the games beyond that?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to those little things. You can't take for granted what we have. You only have a couple of weeks left in the season, and at this point in the year, a lot of teams are just trying to get through, kind of finish and get to those big games. We take it as an opportunity. I mean, we get maybe I think three more days left till we play Colorado, and we get 3 more days to get better. We get 3 more days to keep working on our craft and keep developing. So when those times do come up, we'll be ready. But we're taking it really as an opportunity to get better and improve. And then ultimately, game days are fun. I mean, it's hard to get wins. It's not people take it like we're just supposed to walk in there and they hand it over, but it's hard to get wins, and you got to celebrate them. So really, just taking it all in during the journey and taking it as an opportunity for sure.
As a player, I mean, as a fan, we've definitely had this experience. But as a player, what is the walk over to the Coliseum like on game day? Do you just ever look around and say, "Oh my God, I'm a USC Trojan"?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a culmination. You work for it when you're a little kid. You see it on TV or you're at the games, and you're just like, man, like I want to be that guy. And so you work for such a long time to a point where you're like, it's really definitely a shock. First couple of times you're like, whoa, like this is crazy. Like this is obviously insane. But you kind of feel like comfort in that, knowing you put in the work and you did all the things to put yourself in the position to be there. So you can take pride in it. And it's very exciting. Obviously, the way they do the introductions and the runouts, I mean, they do it at the highest level. So it's obviously a really fun time and it's really exciting. So just trying to take advantage of it while I can.
You're a California kid. Was the dream always to be a Trojan, or were you maybe looking at a school in Brentwood?
No, no. I mean, I grew up in Cali, went to St. John Bosco. So USC's always been around. They've always recruited very young and very early here in Southern California. So I've been around USC for a really long time. I've watched the Pac-12 a lot. My dad was a Penn State fan, so I've definitely been to the Rose Bowl a couple of times when they played Penn State. But no, USC's always been around. It's always been something really special. And when I got older, I really saw that, and that's kind of what attracted me to come to the school.
So you mentioned Penn State, and that makes me want to ask about USC ultimately going to move to the Big Ten in a couple of years. What are your thoughts on that as a student athlete? What's it going to be like traveling from coast to coast during the week a couple times, the time difference, a long flight? What are you looking
Yeah.
forward to about that? And also maybe what are you not looking forward to so much about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously the Big Ten gives us a huge stage. You get to play Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, and all those teams in the Big Ten are very big powerhouses. So giving you the opportunity to play a bunch of big schools is really awesome because you kind of get to show who you are as a team. I think it'll be fun. Get to go travel, play on the East Coast, play some snow games, play some rain games. Definitely will be a little bit of a shock. I will say that. I don't know how. I've never played a snow game, so people say it's a bit different, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that goes. But for us, it doesn't change too much. We travel on Friday afternoons, so maybe we leave a couple hours earlier, but it shouldn't change much for our schedule. I think the day coming back might be a little bit weird, just because the time zones are changing. So maybe the Sundays will be kind of a little bit weirder days, but I don't think there's going to be too much of a shock there. Really just excited to be a part of the Big Ten and, finish these 2 years out in the Pac-12 and see how it goes. Hopefully trying to win two championships. So got to focus on it now, but definitely looking forward to that in the future.
I mean, you talk about the travel, and that's definitely something that's going to be a challenge for student athletes. Has USC talked to you guys at all about the travel or any of the logistics yet about how that's going to work? I mean, you
No,
mentioned about leaving and stuff, but I remember the president put out a message about it. So has the team been made aware of anything?
not at this point. Like I kind of said earlier, we're taking it one season, one game, one day at a time. And I think when that challenges or opportunity arises, they'll present it. But at the moment, we're focused on Colorado. We're focused on the Pac-12. We're focused on doing everything this year and next year. So that's more just something to look forward to, but nothing to worry about at this point. They'll figure all that out. And I'm sure they'll do a fantastic job. So nothing yet from our side, at least.
So I want to shift over a little bit away from football and ask you some more basic questions. I want to start with what's your favorite place to eat on campus?
Favorite place? Oof. I really like Dulce. Have you guys been there in the Village? Their breakfast
Some good
burritos.
burgers. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never had their burgers, but I've definitely tried their breakfast burritos, and it's gas. I love going there on the weekends, like my Sunday morning, getting a breakfast burrito and a donut. It's one of my favorite places for sure.
Do you have a funniest teammate?
Ooh, funniest teammate. Man, there's a bunch of them in the running back room. I can talk about some guys. Darwin Barlow, he's a funny dude. Austin Jones. Everybody's kind of got their different characteristics in our room, but everybody's making jokes and having a good time. I wouldn't say there's one specific clown, but I feel like everybody's definitely contributing some jokes for sure.
Sorry, what were you saying?
And now who's the best gamer on the team?
What do you like, video games?
Yeah, you guys play any video games, Call of Duty?
Yeah, I mean, actually super dope. They Call of Duty actually gave us the new Modern Warfare game a little early, a couple days before it released. So everybody's been getting on it. One of the best dudes I will say is our tight end Josh Follow. The dude averages 25 kills a game. I mean, he's just absurd. So I would definitely say he's up there. One of my roommates, Kyle Ford, he's pretty good too. I'll give him that, but you can't let him know that. So maybe we'll keep that out.
And
Now
you go.
we mentioned earlier you have a podcast, Zero. Do you have a dream podcast guest?
Dream podcast guest?
Yeah.
We were talking about this, me and Mo actually. We were saying like something crazy would be like The Rock. I feel like he just does so much. And he's obviously been in football. He's done so many cool things in the entertainment industry, and that would just be a perfect combination. I think that would be really, really cool if we could.
All right, who's the best drip on the team? Best game day outfit?
I would that boy Caleb. That boy
Yeah.
Caleb's be dripping
that's
out.
funny, yeah.
I don't know. There's a few guys that'll really step out. Some of the guys that are low key, Josiah Samora, he'll come out with some drippy stuff. But I definitely would say Caleb is probably top tier for sure.
And one last question before we let you go. We really appreciate your time coming on, speaking to us. But I mean, we've had some guests on and they've talked to us about LA. This question might be a little impacted by COVID and everything, but do you just have a crazy LA story where you're getting a perk for being a USC Trojan, either on campus or in LA, or going into a nice nightclub, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, the USC Trojan name definitely carries over. I will say one time, I was able to go to a little function in Hollywood, and a bunch of professional athletes are there. And it was really cool getting to meet some guys like what's it called? Mookie Betts was one that was super cool to me, just because I like the Dodgers. And just a couple other pro athletes. I'm not gonna name just because I don't want to. That's up to them. But it was really cool. It was fun. Get to meet some cool guys, people that you wouldn't normally be able to get to meet. I feel like if you weren't part of the team or weren't part of that Trojan community for sure.
Well, man, we appreciate you coming on. We'll definitely link your podcast in our bio. And good luck this weekend.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys. Fight on.
Welcome back into USC Trojans on Fan Nation podcast. We just had USC running back Matt Colombo on the show, and now we're gonna get into a little recap of last weekend's win over Cal, and we'll look forward to Colorado this week. My friend, Mr. Hare, what did you like from the victory on Saturday?
Well, I mean, obviously it was a tale of two stories. The offense was tremendous. I mean, Caleb Williams once again had to carry the offense. 5 total touchdowns, 360 passing yards, and 36 rushing yards, or 38, excuse me. And of course, the wide receiver room stepped up again because 6th or 7th string wide receiver Michael Jackson had 115 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Taz Washington, who's honestly been the best receiver of the past 3 weeks, had 112 yards and a touchdown. But I mean, the defense has just been struggling the last 3 games. To start the season, they were giving up 18.6 points per game, and then the last 3 games, the average has ballooned up to 28.2 points per game and dropped to 4th in the Pac-12. I just see a lot of personnel issues with the USC defense. They don't have an opposing cornerback. I mean, outside of Caviar Wright and nickel Jalen Smith has just been struggling all season. And look, Kalen Bullock, he's a great safety, but he's got to learn to tackle. And there's plays that he's not reading right, and there was a play where he gave up the easy 47-yard touchdown to Marvin Anderson on Cal, which really should have been. He should have read it and just blew the play up, but yet he let him score. So I just see a weirdly unique regression with the defense, and it's going to come back to bite them later in the season.
Yeah, I mean, you're right on with that. We look at this game, it was 27-7 with 11 minutes to go in the third quarter. It looked like, hey, this defense came to play. Obviously, they gave up a touchdown early in the game, but then after that, they were locked down. USC's offense was starting to roll. They'd only given up 7 points, and then they give up another touchdown in the third quarter. But even at that point, just 14 points through 3 quarters, based on how the last 2 games has gone, no real concern there. And then you get to the fourth quarter, and it's like the sky fell. It's a completely different game. They give up 3 touchdowns in the fourth, and that's just something that's extremely concerning. USC fortunate to have already built up a pretty big lead where it really didn't matter, but nonetheless, a 41-35 finish, much closer than it needed to be. So if you're USC, we've been concerned the past 2 weeks, and I think the concern has only grown. We've been looking for this defense to sort of get back on track. We thought this might be a game to do it against a Cal team that's really struggled, and now another game where they really just haven't played a full game. They play parts of games, a solid first half, a solid third quarter, and then the fourth quarter is just a completely different game, and it ends up coming to look really bad for this defense.
And I mean, defensive coordinator Alex Grinch said it the best. He, in a quote in his after the game, he said, "You want to vomit some of the issues we've had 10 weeks into the season." I mean, look, this defense is. Let me read some stats from the last 3 games, okay? They allowed 415 passing yards to Utah's Cam Rising. Okay, Cam Rising is a good quarterback. Then the next week, 380 yards to Jaden DeLoria. I mean, Jaden DeLoria is not a guy who should be throwing for 380 yards on you. And then 406 yards to Jack Plummer, who also threw for 3 touchdowns and kept counting the entire game. They've given up 8 touchdowns and only have 2 interceptions in that span. I mean, this was a team that their calling card was getting turnovers throughout the first 6 weeks of the season. And then all of a sudden, Jaden DeLoria and Jack Plummer are tearing you apart, and Arizona and Cal are putting you on upset alert. I mean, there's some serious issues that are going on with USC, and they don't know how to tackle. They've had 40 missed tackles in the past couple of weeks. 40. That's not a stat that a team that's going to reach the college football playoffs is going to have. And look, the defense is really going to have to fix itself in the offseason. This is going to be a fix that's going to take place over next year and the year after. And it really stings that in Caleb's next year, it's looking unlikely that USC is going to put together a great enough defense just based off the recruiting class. I mean, that could change in the transfer portal. But just based off the recruiting class that they have next year, they do have the #1 inside linebacker. But outside of that, they have a good edge rusher. But really, there's nothing else there that you look at and say, wow, that's going to change the defense. I mean, these are guys that are going to come in and not play as freshmen. So it sucks that in Caleb's last year, he's not going to really have the best defense.
Yeah, well, you talked about the transfer portal and the offense, obviously, completely different offense this year, largely in part to the transfer portal. And hopefully the defense can maybe try to replicate what the offense did in the past offseason. We'll see. It's a tall task. You can't just go into the transfer portal and expect to come out after picking up a few players like a top 5 defense in the country. It's not every day that you get a Caleb Williams at quarterback and a Jordan Addison at receiver. We're not going to really expect to get those types of players on defense because it's unrealistic to count on that. So you're right. It's concerning, and going forward, obviously the recruiting class next year is solid on defense, but those are freshmen. Those are players that could they make impacts when they come in? Sure. But are they going to make an impact that's going to really, really, do they have enough players coming in that are going to be ready to play right away and make an instant impact? I don't know. And maybe a few years down the line, but obviously it's going to be a much different team in a couple of years. And you have to, but at the end of the day, I think trust Coach Riley. He's an exceptional recruiter. I think he'll do just fine. And I think the program, there's no reason to worry. Even after Caleb Williams, they're going to bring in good players. There's going to be a ton of talent, and hopefully next year it lines up where this defense is much better for Caleb in the offense. But if not, it'll be leaning on the offense again. And at the end of the day, this is a very good offense to have to lean on because obviously one of if not the best offense in college football. So yes, you want that defense to be really good, but having to lean on this offense and the firepower it has isn't the worst thing in the world.
And let me just say this. Boy, are they lucky they're joining the Big Ten in 2024, because if this is the defense they were putting out weekly against a Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State, they'd be a 3 or 4 loss team. They are very lucky to be in the Pac-12 right now. But look, it's a building process. Coach Riley came in no one expected from day one that they were going to be the best team in college football. People expected that they could build to be the best team in college football. And sure, there's personnel issues. Outside of Tuli Talapoli, they don't really have any NFL talent on that defense. So, I mean, Tuli has been fantastic this year. Let's give him his credit. But they don't have any pass rushers. The linebacking core doesn't know how to tackle, and the corners are weak. It's a process, and we know that it's going to get fixed over time because I'm confident in saying this, by 2024, USC is going to have a defense that you put out on the field and feel comfortable about.
Yeah, and you mentioned how they're lucky to be playing in the Pac-12 with this defense this season, but they have two teams coming up after Colorado and UCLA and Notre Dame that it could be really tough to beat those teams, especially with the way Notre Dame's been playing of late. That team is really turning it on. Obviously, a huge win over Clemson last week. That's a scary team, and I know the game's at home, but that's a game that USC could easily lose. And also UCLA, that's going to be a really tough game for the Trojans. Another good team, one of if not the best teams in the Pac-12. And for USC, with the way this defense has been playing, you better hope that the offense is clicking in both of those games, because I think that those the Notre Dame offense and the UCLA offense are both going to have a fairly easy time scoring points against this defense. So if they're putting up points, we got to hope that this USC offense comes to play and is able to do the same if they want to have any chance at winning those games.
I want to say this still about UCLA and why I'm confident that I think they can win that game. UCLA did rush for 400 plus yards this past weekend. USC does have a solid run defense. I mean, they only allowed 63 rushing yards to Cal. So I'm not too worried about that game, but Notre Dame scares me. I mean, they have a good passing attack. They have a good defense. They finally figured it out. Marcus Freeman, he's a first-year head coach. He's young. He's learning every week. It's a rivalry game. I'm not saying UCLA is not a rivalry game because we know they are one of the two biggest rivals in the Pac-12, but Notre Dame's a team. They've been good. They're familiar with you. Look, that's a game that scares me more than UCLA, and people might call me crazy, but this is a team that just upset Clemson last weekend.
Yeah, it's they're a scary team, the Irish, and it's gonna be fortunately for the Trojans, they have a couple more weeks to get ready for that game. And right now, when we talk to Matt, the focus is just on Colorado. It's on getting better tomorrow, getting better than after that, and then hopefully getting a win against Colorado. So for now, the focus has to be on the game ahead, and they can't look forward to the games to come in a couple weeks. But it's certainly easy to do, and it's definitely concerning knowing that these big powerhouse teams are coming to play the Trojans, and this is a defense that does not look ready for those games.
And one last thing before we sign off. If we allow more than 21 points to Colorado, because Colorado is a bad offense who can't move the ball down the field. If we allow more than 21 points to Colorado, sound the alarm. I mean, it's already should be ringing right now, but seriously, it's concerning if they're allowing more than 21 points to that team.
Yeah, certainly. This is a Colorado team that's 1-8. I mean, if that doesn't say enough, just looking at the record, they scored 10 points against Oregon last week, 34 points against Arizona State, but Arizona State is not an opponent that is going to really stop you from scoring the ball. Against Oregon State, 9 points for Colorado. We can just go through the whole list while we're at it. Their only win of the season, they scored 20 points against Cal, a team that USC just gave up 35 points to. Arizona, just 20 points for Colorado, 17 points against UCLA in that defense. Only 7 points against Minnesota, 10 points against Air Force, and 13 points against the TCU Horned Frogs. Shout out to them, 4th in the college football playoff rankings tonight. So TCU, they're rolling this season, and they dominated Colorado the first week of the season. So Colorado has scored over 20 points just once this season after we just went through it. So for this USC defense, an opportunity to get right and sort of feed off of a weaker opponent, and hopefully they do that. And if not, the concerns are just going to be through the roof.
We'll see what happens. Friday night game. It's Veterans Day. Should be a good one. Fight on, and we'll see you next week, hopefully after another USC win.